All right, so everybody here listening now or watching later, some things to talk about real quick. First of all, if you're going to be absent, you don't need to email me and tell me you're under quarantine or whatever, or ask, is there anything I can do? That's a great one. Yes, there's stuff you can do. Everything for this class, assignments, instruction, videos, everything will always be available on our spreadsheet calendar, which is this thing that we look at every single day. Okay, you don't need to email me, just do the work, watch the videos. There will be all the information you need. Whoa. That's not what we want. Oh, sweet. Better? There we go. Awesome. Wrong button. All right, clearly. Okay, that's number one. Just go to the instructional videos, watch them. You're responsible for anything that I say, just like you were in class. That's it. Number two, if you need assignments reassessed, send me an email. Send me one email. Do not send me 2 emails. Do not check in a week later and say, can you please reassess the assignments I emailed you about? No. Okay. My inbox is full of people wanting stuff graded late. If you wanted it graded promptly, you should have turned it in on time. I will get to it. Do not email me twice, because that's another setback in getting through all of those. Okay, you're not going to respect my time of having to do your work, grading your work twice. Don't make me deal with a 3rd or 4th email. Just do your work on time. Everything you need to do for this class, we do during this class. And it's not that hard. Okay. All right, so now back to the actual stuff. We're going to continue with our current unit, lesson 4, excuse me, unit 4, lesson 11. This is a perfect assignment for our 2-hour delay, slightly shorter class, because it is just a straightforward functions make situation where you are going to recreate the example app that's right here. So we'll just go ahead and do this together. Please try to keep up. All right, so what do we have here? We have a quote maker app. Play different options, play just what's happening on the screen, what's the screen, when does the screen update? What happens when you choose specific settings? What does that do? Inputs, outputs. Okay, so it's our job to figure out what is going on. Okay, so it looks like it is updating on every click. Okay, what happens if we change fonts? Okay, so it changes on input of that. What about color? Okay, color just affects the background color. And font size. All right, so there's 4 different inputs here. 3 of them are settings. Okay, font family, background color, font size, and the other input is the text input. If we have 4 different inputs, we need 4 different event handlers. But luckily, when we call each of those event handlers, it's going to do the exact same thing. It's getting the text input, it's getting the font family, it's getting the background color, and it's getting the font size. It's getting all 4 of these values. So that's what would go in the function. And then if there's a change to any one of those inputs, it regathers all of that information. And then we are just setting setting the text of this text input. Now it says, what happens if you choose lavender and Lucida Sands? And it gives us a gray combo. Okay, so there's another output. There is, it says nice design. So there's like a comment output. We'll see what they actually call that text element. Because if you go to the next bubble, you'll see that it is the same. They give you all the design elements ready for you. But it looks like regardless, it will give you a nice design. But if you have this combination and lavender, it says great combo. And what about light green and a particular size? Hey, light green and font size of whatever number this is. We will say it says looking fresh. Now we are going to add one other design element to this, and it's going to be a text box that actually says the actual size. Okay, because any sort of slider, yeah, it's nice that this is the range, but how about actually responding with a number rather than just like this much size or most of the size? So having a little box that changes as it changes, that the box gives the precise number of font size whenever you move the slider, that's another good thing. So we have gathering all the inputs, setting that text, and checking for a couple of very specific combinations to give a different output. All right, this actually might be a fair bit. Let's open up a new tab. Let's go like this, and we'll open up one of these, and we'll go to it. And let's clear out some space. All right, so normally I put variables at the top. Yeah, let's go ahead and just make a generic variable of text output, and we'll make it an empty string just because we want the computer to know that it's always going to be words. And then how about some white space? Just text out per. I'll change that. Output. And so we will always go variables at the top, the global variables at least. And at the bottom will be function definitions, and in the middle will be our event handlers. So we need a let's just go ahead. So we have on event quote input, that's the text text input thing, quote input. I'm pretty sure it's change. Let's just double check. Set text of current unit. Always be current unit, which happens to be unit 4. And less than 11 bubble 2. So set text of quote output. That's the main one to text. And if we just hit run and we do something here. No. Let's maybe it's not change. How about input? Yeah, there we go. Okay, so input is the one. If we want an event to happen when somebody types in the thing, we can actually, how about let's just do a get text. This is still in the debugging process. Get text of quote input. We are going to use this get text in our main function, but Yep, there we go. Okay, so it is when quote input, which is this text area, has anything put into it. Right now I'm just doing the set text, but this will be like the main part of our function definition, which actually, let's just go ahead and let's set up our other event handlers first, just to give us some space, or to give us some idea of what's going on. So this is called font family. On event font family input is, let's see if it's change. Let's put this down here and we hit run, put some stuff here. Let's see if we do this to change this to a thing. Yeah, okay, so we know change is the one that, because, all right, so this font family input is a drop down. If you have on key up as your event listener, as the event, it's not going to ever be triggered because we're not using the keyboard. I suppose for quote input, you could have on event key up, but that might not get that might call it before, but it is important. It's not always going to be click, although for most of your apps, click will be the event. It's nice that it's the default, but there's no clicking here as or it's always going to be some sort of either change or input. So we need the same thing for color input. To have another event handler for color input when it is changed. Let's just double check. So we'll give ourselves some stuff here and then good. Okay, so we were just checking here. We're just checking to see if what triggers it. And then we need another event handler on event. Font size input, I guess. Font size input. I bet that's either going to be change or input. Okay, so it only changed when I like moused up. So I moved it all the way over here. Nothing is changing until I release, which I don't want that. I want it to change constantly, which should happen like the first one. So change isn't going to be it. Let's try input. Yeah, there we go. Okay, and we could test this also with like get number, set the text, quote text output to get number of font size input. And then it should change as we go. And I'll give you a hint, that's how we're going to do our extra little, our extra box size that has like a running number for the slider. If we have time, I think we'll be fine though. All right, so we have our four events going on here, or our four possible interactions. Okay, the user only has four different things they can do: change what's in the quote, set the font, set the color or the font size. So let's just go ahead and put all of our stuff in a giant function. Let's call this function, I would call it set text, but pretty sure that's reserved because that's already a API function. What's a good name for this? Write text, text out. That's not typing. What? Yeah, as long as it makes sense and it's meaningful and descriptive. Make quote. I don't know. Not going to type it that much. And so that's our function definition. And we're going to call make quote any one of these. And the make quote is going to do all of the work. And that work is collect all the different variables, or I should say properties, and then turn it into the quote, or yeah, turn it into the details. So starting to see a problem. I wonder if we're going to get an error, and the error that I'm thinking of is that the default for the dropdown isn't actually a font, and the default for the color dropdown isn't actually a color. It's the word color. So we are going to find out what happens when you set the background color of a text area to something that isn't a color, that is a word. I'm guessing it will just ignore it, but there might be an error. Okay, so what do we want to happen anytime we change something? Well, we want to set the property. We're going to do a bunch of set properties. Set the property of our quote output. We want to set its background color to whatever is here, and that's a get text. We want to get whatever text is. Okay, get text isn't just for the getting of a text input. Getting the text is also what you do, how to retrieve what the user has put in for a dropdown. You've given them the only options for get text, but it's still there. We want to set the property of quote output. We want to set its background color to color input. And what is color output? Why was that an option? What is color output? ID color output. Oh, okay. So here's an interesting thing that you may not have noticed. There are two text boxes here, or text areas. There's one text area that is the quote output and another one that is the color output. They didn't really need to do that, but that's fine. I guess we could have put the change the color one to just change the color property of color output. Well, let's just see what happens. Okay, so instead of setting the property of the quote, we're set the color output, which is another just background thing that's kind of unnecessary, but like I said, we'll see what happens. Then what else we want to set the font, set property again of quote output, which again is this sort of a clear background text area on top of it. We want to set the quote output font family to, we want to get whatever text that they have chosen from the dropdown, and that is for font family input. And we want to set property of quote output. We want the property we want to set is font size. And since size is a number, we need to do get number of font size input. Probably seeing a pattern here. And we want to, now that we have all the properties of the area set, we want to actually get the text. So let's set property of quote output. The property you want to set is the actual text of that text area. And we want to set it to whatever they typed in the quote input. So let's get the text of the quote input. And there's a chance this works. Okay, so that kind of works. And There we go. This is kind of working, and font family is working. And the font size is working. Holy moly. Okay. Where's my bell? Ship it. There we go. All right. So that's like 90% of it. Let's work on the extra stuff. And not the extra stuff, the nice, we want to use the same combinations that they used here where, okay, if anything was, so we have these two strange combinations where if it's lavender and if it's those combinations of font and color, it changes a, God, I don't want to change everything. It's lavender and this, you get great combo. And if it's, well, so the way I've set this up here is good if that's all we needed to do. The problem is because we need to check for no, we'll be fine. Okay, so the first one, we want this, let's make it big again. We want it to, this feedback output to always be nice design unless something else happens. So the way we're going to set that up is with a set property, or really you can just use set text. We want feedback output. We want to set its text to the phrase. Oh, hold on. If you ever get this bug where you can see I have the cursor in the text area is like blinking there. If you try to click on it and it takes it to the next one, just refresh the page. That seems to work. F5. And so we will set it to nice combo. 2 words is good. Now we're going to check for particular combinations. And this is actually going to be as much work as what we've already done for this tiny little output, but it's good. Actually, we can just use an if, else if, because there's 3 different scenarios we need. We're going to check to see if it's lavender and Lucida Sans. Then we're going to check if it's light green and a font size of a certain amount. And if it's neither of those, we want it to be nice combo. So we need to add one so that we have an if, else if, and an else, because every other combination gets nice combo. And it needs to be inside our main function because it needs to be called every time something changes. Every time a font changes, color changes, and font size changes, it's checking for something. It needs to recheck the combination. So what do we need here? They are combinations. So we definitely need an and. So we'll go and put an and here and an and here. You can do this in text mode if you want, but it's the double ampersand is the and. And for each of them, we have if the color is lavender and the font is Lucida Sans, we are going to set, and we'll get to that in a second. Let's set the property. Again, we could just use set text, but set property is not a bad way to go. Set property of feedback output. Set its text 2, and what do they call it for purple and great combo is our first one. Okay, so we're set the text of it to great combo. And the other phrase, well, let's just make this one work, and then we'll go back for the other phrase in combo. All right, so this one was font family purple. So we need to, how are we going to check this? We need to get text. So we have the if get text of font family input is equal to, or is the same as, and it has to be, it is case sensitive. What is the one we want? We want this one. You could just go into design mode and copy it if you want, or type it in exactly. So here, if get text of font family input is equal to, remember double equals is get is checking. Okay, so if go ahead and get the text from here, check to see if it's this, and we need to get the text of the color input. Color input, and check to see if it's double equals to, are they capitalized here? No, they're not capitalized. So again, you could just, ugh. What is that? Why does that look so weird? Oh, there's dirt on my screen. Copy there. And if it's double equals to lavender lowercase, set the text to feedback output text great. There we go. Okay, so let's first thing I'll put some stuff in here, and we have an error because of this part. I'm just going to get rid of this for the sake of testing. Else if true, something that doesn't break. Okay, I'll put something here and font family there, and oh, true. It should be getting to nice combo. Let's put. See if a number breaks it. Oh wait, 1 is also a synonym for true. Okay, let's try this. Font family. Why is it sliding? That's strange. Cedar Sands and lavender. Great combo. This should say night. It should go back. That's strange. Because it should be getting to this else. Well, let's see if this is my temporary thing is breaking it. Let's do the other one. So great combo is the special purple one. And the default, the default should be nice design. Let's just go ahead and change that. Nice design. And the other special one is green or light green and a slider size looking fresh. And so we need to come up with our conditional in here. Let's just go ahead and what do we want to happen if we get this conditional? That'll be there in a second. We want to set feedback output, set its text to fresh design. All right, so under what condition do we want the this to happen? We want and there's 2 conditions that must be present in order for it to change to fresh design. One is the background color needs to be light green. So in order to test that, we need to get it. Oh wait, first of all, our and is a combination of two separate check for equals signs. And in order to check, we want to get the text of color input. Okay, is color input equal to, and it was light green, one word lowercase. And we need to check the font size. And we can go into design mode, look at the font size slider, and the range for the slider is from 10 to 30, starting at 20 with step size of 2. So that means it's probably about 24 that triggered it. So let's do a get number of font size input equal to 24. So it's checking to see if it's light green and font size is 24. Give us the output, fresh design. And so let's see how well this works. And boom, and color. Let's try our first one to see if it still works. Okay, great combo. This should go back to nice design. Yeah, there we go, nice design. And we go here, it should go to fresh design. And it is not. Okay, if, did I tell you? Oh, whenever you're checking against a text, it needs to be spelled correctly, light green. And let's put something in here. And we'll go something, change the font, the yellow, light green, and we'll go to 24. Boom, fresh design. Okay, that is everything that is from the previous or from the example. We're going to add one other feature, and that is a continual update on font size. The way we need to do that, we need to add another text area or label, something you can set the text of. Let's see what label looks like when it comes out. Yeah, I think label will work in this case. And let's put it over here. We know that output text is going to show up over here. We need to think about, this is going to be the actual number of the slider updating every time it moves. So I don't want you to move around things too much, but I probably would change the size of the slider and put it on the same level. And that's kind of small, but let's start its text. We know the slider starts at 20. So we'll just kind of put it there. We'll make sure it's the correct font, that the font size of this label is big enough to hold 2 digits, which is what we want. And this is going to be a separate function, or really we can just put it inside of, whenever the font size changes, we run make quote. But we also want to set the text of, let's give it a good name. How about font size label? And every time the font size input does any sort of input, we want to update font size. Let's spell it correctly, geez. Font size. Apparently font size label is a thing. Maybe font size label 1, I don't know. Font size label 1. We want to set its text to, let's get the number of that slider. Get number of font size input. Now, every time you drag it around, that number updates And that is a requirement for this. So if you got lost at some point, this is all going to be on a video. And if you're watching it on a video, you already know that. Let's double check that if we go light green and 24, it switches. But if we go one past, nice design. And there you go. Good. No, we're recording the video right now. You're on the video. Well, not really. All right, any questions about this? I think that's everything. So the key takeaways are about how every time anything changes, we are updating all of these, updating the properties of all these design elements, the background color, the quote, text, then we're checking for specific conditions for the unique feedback line, and just the extra bonus, not optional element, bringing on a new label that by itself gets updated anytime the slider changes. And we could put this inside of our main function since it's getting called anyway, but I think it's probably a good idea to keep this set text update thing sort of inside the relevant event handler. Okay, take your time with this. Pause the video, watch the video, pay attention to what's actually going in there. Okay, I'll go through this slowly. You can pause it. Okay, we have our text output, which we actually never even used, I guess. Yeah, we don't even need this. Because the only time we were changing the text, the quote output was inside of this. So it didn't really even need a global variable. Yeah, there you go. Running it? Yeah, that's what we've been doing. We could also change, just for fun, change the range of the slider. I would call this font size slider. Generally a good idea to put the type of the element as its ID. It will help you find it later, but this is fine. Let's make the maximum value 50. And oh wait, let's give it some text. It goes a little too big there, but that's still works. All right, so that's where we'll end the recording. If you have any questions, let me know.